What you got, Sean Rose? What stories making the headlines this week?
Greetings, Edgeranka. Greetings, viewers. Let's look at safety on the roads this week, Edgeranka. In particular, on Friday, October 23rd, the officers of the police road policing unit, we know it as the traffic department, they had their hands full. The police information office reported on Monday, October 26th, that there were two separate incidents involving the pedestrians on the street. We are told that in one case, just across from JTV here on the Blackburn Highway, early Friday morning around 8 a.m., a gentleman was struck by a vehicle while he was attempting to cross the westbound lane. And if you traverse that area and you've been observing what happens there, there aren't any pedestrian crossings, and from time to time folks would walk across there, and it's really interesting to figure out what could have led to that, because for the most part you ought to see the vehicle coming and the driver ought to see the pedestrian, and we're not sure what led to that. The police information office says investigations are continuing. Certainly, I think there is room for vigilance. And also in the second incident, this time involving two persons, and a 5-year-old was involved. In fact, they were crossing just across from the Vanterpool area in the roundabout section of the Waterfront Drive area. And they were both struck by the vehicle. Now, it's easy for people to say maybe the drivers were going too fast, or maybe he or she was on his cell phone or her cell phone, etc. But again, I think there is room for vigilance, because when you're approaching the roundabout as a motorist, it's not so easy focusing on so many things: incoming traffic, persons crossing on the pedestrian crossing, persons not using the pedestrian crossing, vehicles stopping or making turns, going into side roads, or even parking in some cases without indicating. So it would be interesting to see if the police information office would divulge the findings of these particular investigations, or if they would say, for example, this is an opportune time for the police department and maybe the office of the governor to consider funding public education campaigns to improve road usage in terms of road safety tips and other advice that they may want to share with people. Maybe in some cases, some motorists and pedestrians are not paying attention to the road traffic ordinance and how we use the roads, generally speaking.
So I take it, Sean, that you were unable to get any police reports about the accidents.
Well, thankful we got the reports indicating that they happened, because we knew that they took place, but in terms of the factual information and so forth, we waited for that, and we got that on Monday morning. There isn't much in the report except to say that in the second incident there at the Vanterpool area, the 5-year-old was taken to the Peebles Hospital and released, and the 18-year-old person who was actually the brother of that 5-year-old, he again sustained some injuries, but it doesn't seem as though they were major
I'm talking
injuries.
about the what the police determined to be the cause of the accident.
No.
Who was wrong? Who was right?
No.
What happened?
Not as yet.
How the motor vehicle, the motorist got to plow into the pedestrian, and how that came about. Nothing at all on that level.
I'm sure you've heard me say that. I think in some cases the police are too cagey on these matters, and they could divulge more information. But no,
because I think that a report of that nature would give persons some insight into what you need to pay attention to when you're driving. So if, for example, the police were to say the motorist was going too fast based on skid marks or however they determine that, then we would start saying to ourselves as motorists that, perhaps we need to slow down a little bit. Or if the pedestrian was crossing in the middle of the street and not paying attention, we need to know that as motorists, we need to look out more for pedestrians crossing illegally or unlawfully, and pedestrians need to be more careful when they are crossing. But I think one thing to consider as well is that we have quite a number of cars now. We have quite a number of people now. It's not like the old days. And everybody's trying to get where they're going in a hurry. And, and especially if there's a little traffic, and then the traffic ease up a little bit, and you try to make up for the time. You're rushing. And then, of course, with all the distractions, the cell phone, the music, and all the things, that's happening around in the environment, I think as motorists, and I find myself paying more attention to what I'm doing and trying to be more careful now than I have ever been before. Especially when you go into a parking lot, going in and out of cars, and cars are taking up space where you have to drive.
You have to be more vigilant.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's very easy to bump into something. There's always something around you now. It's not. You can't take any chances that something won't be there.
Much more pressure on your navigational skills too, and not everyone can navigate.
The odds are that there will be something in your environment, and so that you need to pay attention to.
I can tell you that one area that often brings out my red flags is approaching the crossing just across from Clovers there, and the other one further up coming across from Najiko, just across from Umi, because depending on the direction you're coming from and the vehicles in front of you, you may not see pedestrians attempting to cross. And in some cases, not all pedestrians would make sure they have or establish eye contact with the driver, which is what I do whenever I'm crossing the road, wherever I'm crossing, make sure the driver sees me and that we have that agreement that I'm going to cross and you're going to allow me to cross, because in some cases, the driver just might not see you. And when you are coming from the ferry dock area and you make that turn right there, again, I see folks crossing sometimes when when you're coming from the admin building area. I see folks crossing there at times when the light says green, and that means all motorists moving along the west and east side of the Waterfront Drive area have the go-ahead to pretty much proceed. And in some cases, folks would try to walk across even though the vehicles are approaching them. And
I'm glad you mentioned that area there by the traffic light, by the admin complex. That area there, the traffic light signals are sometimes confusing, I think, to the motorist and the pedestrian. Sometimes you don't know whether you should go or stay, whether it's still your turn to turn, and there's some dynamics going on there that could be confusing.
It's probably not the best place to cross.
Yes, but I think that you're quite right when you talk about being vigilant. That both pedestrians and motorists need to now pay more attention to what's happening in the environment.
Yes. Because these incidents could be fatal, Edgerenka, and that's when when regret sets in, and we will be saying if and what we should have done and so forth. And I'm thinking now is a good time, now that we've had these two incidents on the very same day, that we pay attention, and the authorities and of course the public, we all should play our part, because no one, I don't know of any driver who wants to run over a person on the road.
Absolutely, and I think you're quite right that it's time for us to step up the education of the motorists as well as the pedestrian.
I'm sure JTV would welcome the police department come in and discuss, and let's see how we can get that education campaign going. Of course, the Rotong police station, the police, they are now opening their West End police station. The opening will take place on Friday, this coming Friday, October 30. I'm not sure what time, probably in the morning. And it was closed for some time. They were doing their renovations. They had to undergo extensive repairs, which included a new roof, renovations to office spaces, police barracks. They replaced windows, installation of new security and fire system, new air conditioning system, electrical fixtures, and interior finishes. Of course, while the repairs were being undertaken, the officers were relocated to the Cane Garden Bay police station, and we are told that they were still conducting their exercises and so forth in the West End area. So, grand ceremony on Friday for the police as they open the West End police station, and I'm sure the folks living in that area would welcome the presence of the police again.
Yeah. Well, that station, as we know, has been a long time coming. The renovation of that station has been a long time coming. And I'm sure everybody in the first districts are happy to have their station, especially in the Western area, are happy to have their station back online. And of course, the more police that you have in the community, the safer one can feel. So it's certainly a great thing that is happening, and we are happy that that station has come back on stream.
Yeah, so there you go. The police, they dominated the discussions tonight, Edgerenka.
Yes.
Certainly, as it relates to the traffic incidents, we hope that the folks are recovering well and we certainly don't want to see a repeat of these incidents on the roads.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for those two reports.